Madam Web. That's right. We've all been waiting for this one. After so many Spider-Man movies have come out, we have finally got to the most important one of all. A movie that doesn't have Spider-Man in it, and doesn't really have any spider people in it, except for like 2 minutes. Sony keeps doing this thing where the only comic property they actually have the film rights to is Spider-Man. So they can't really just do more Spider-Man movies on their own because, well, they've got to deal with Marvel, and they obviously know that Marvel is doing a better job making Spider-Man movies than they are. So instead, they're just taking more and more side characters from Spider-Man and giving them their movies and hoping that they'll catch maybe some crumbs of MCU clout for it, but it never works. Morbius was horrible. Morbius wasn't even a so bad it's good movie. Morbius was just bad and boring. And that was like the joke that people were making. Like people were talking about, oh my god, it's the best movie ever. But like really it was like Jeb Bush, the movie. It was somebody who's like, yeah, he's not even so good. He's just boring, and that's the joke. Is people are like, oh my god, this boring guy is so good. I would say this movie probably has more so bad it's good qualities than Morbius. I would say that this is a better film than Morbius, but it feels like the movie was kind of like reshot and rewritten as they were going along. Like they very clearly didn't have a strong central theme going on. It feels like there were plot elements that were kind of sort of developed, but then they decided to cut it, but then they left in some of the dialogue. Like there's a quasi theme that the main character, Cassandra Webb, doesn't like kids, but it's not like really built on, except that she has to go and rescue these 3 teenagers from the bad guy. And these 3 teenagers are one day going to become Spider-Women. And like, she's like, I've got to help you, but no, it's not my responsibility to help you, but I got to help you, but no, I'm just going to leave you here, but I can't leave you alone. It was like, they wanted to write her as somebody who doesn't like kids, but not commit to her like actually saying, nah, fuck these kids. I'm not helping them. It doesn't work. Also, like, I didn't realize they were supposed to be teenagers until the film just outright says, yeah, no, these are teenagers. Because, like, one of them, like, Sydney Sweeney plays one of them. And, like, I've seen Sydney Sweeney in other things. She's an adult. But here she is, like, they've got her, like, dressed in such a way that, like, basically, from the film language, it feels like she's supposed to be, like, 14. And I don't buy Sydney Sweeney is 14. It just looks like they put, like, you know, oversized glasses on her and everything like that just to make her look younger. I don't know. I don't think they had the budget to, like, CGI de-age any of these people. They just had people in their mid-20s playing teenagers. Which, like, okay, Hollywood's been doing that forever. I really didn't buy it here. And like I said, this movie's like it's like a 2-hour trailer for another movie that we're just never gonna have. It's set in 2003. I think because they wanted it to be set in the MCU. I think they wanted, because like we meet Peter's mom. She's pregnant with him and actually gives birth to him in the movie. And so I assume that's supposed to be the Tom Holland Peter Parker. But, you know, they leave it vague enough and they don't make any other mention of the MCU. It's just kind of there to be like, oh yeah, here's this baby Peter. He's born in this movie. And then here's all these other spider people who are going to be spider people in the future, but aren't spider people right now. Like, if you've seen the trailers and you've seen all of these people in their spider suits, like those shots in the trailer, there's maybe like 20 more seconds of footage like that of them actually being spider people, because they aren't spider people in the movie. And like there's been the footage of, or there's been that photo of Dakota Johnson in the Madam Web outfit, which she literally does not wear in the movie. She doesn't wear it in the movie, except maybe for one shot at the very end where it's not even her, it's like an astral projection of her. I don't know who was asking for this. Well, no, that's not true. I do know who was asking for this. Sony executives were asking for this. They were asking for a Spider-Man adjacent property that they could try and sell. But like, it's also my understanding that they originally wanted it to be the Andrew Garfield universe, but they fucked up the timeline because they said it in 2003, and The Amazing Spider-Man came out in like 2011, 2012, so he couldn't have been born in 2003 because that would have made him like 7 or 8 in the first movie. So they just kind of like, yeah, it was my understanding. I think I read something that they were planning on having an Andrew Garfield's tie-in, but realized, oh no, we fucked up the timeline, so we gotta cut out any reference there. It could still be the Tom Holland one, but whatever happens to making movies stand on their own, whatever happens to making a movie that's supposed to be like that you actually care about that movie instead of watching this movie because it's homework for another movie. And it's not like Marvel's responsible for this, right? Like Marvel set up their cinematic universe, and now everybody's got to have a cinematic universe. But it's not like phase 1 of the MCU was like that. Probably the biggest offender in phase 1 was Iron Man 2. But even then, Iron Man 2 was still mostly its own film. They just had a couple things like Black Widow was in there mostly so that she could be set up for the Avengers. But every film in phase 1 of the MCU was a standalone film that you were watching primarily for that character, for their story. And then we had the Avengers where they all teamed up. But like it seems like every other studio is doing it backwards, where they're like, we want a cinematic universe, let's make a movie to set up the cinematic universe, instead of let's make a good movie, and if it does well and people really respond to it, let's make sequels. That's like how Hollywood used to work, and like that's how the MCU started, right? Like I don't think we would have got to the Avengers if Iron Man hadn't been a runaway success. Like, I know they were planning to, I know they wanted to do an Avengers, but it's not like they had any big cohesive plan, and they just threw in the Nick Fury cameo at the end there. But they weren't making a whole 2-hour movie about how Iron Man is part of a bigger universe. They just threw that in at the end. And this movie, it's like, if they wanted to tell a story about a clairvoyant, like, honestly, if you want to see a movie about somebody who can see the immediate future and makes moves to try and change it, there's a far better movie, and it's a 2007 movie called Next, starring Nicolas Cage. And that's not a good movie, but it's a far better movie than this one. It's far more creative in how it deals with the character who has the ability to see the immediate future and how he deals with that. There's a great sequence in Next where he's like going through this whole sequence where there's a bunch, like he's dodging a bunch of bullets, and you actually see, because he can see all possible futures, that like you see him running through a place, and then you see like he gets shot, but it's like a clone of him that gets shot and falls off while he's still running, right? Like, so we're just seeing like a split screen, like here's the different timelines and here's how they branch off. Visually doing something like that was really cool. There's nothing like that in this movie. Instead, it's just she has a vision of the future presented as its own scene, and then it flashes back to her before it's all happened. She's like, okay, I saw how it went down, so I can do things to do it to stop it there. But then like the finale, she just has like, okay, now I'm so connected to, you know, the Spider Force that she can just predict how things are going to go. But it almost never shows her actually seeing the things that she's predicting. It's just it ends up looking like she's just lucking her way into all of these things. And like, there was a more creative way that they could have done that in film. But I see Jake the Pog in chat going, I was asking for this. They made an entire movie for the bit. Look, I can appreciate that you like really bad cinema, and so I'm glad there's something for you. I just, even if they were committing to make a Madame Web movie, there was a better movie that they could have made for her. And so this movie, aside from whatever, you know, schlock enjoyment that you get from it, there's a lot of things where I look at it and go, did nobody want this movie to be better? I understand it's only being made out of pure cynicism, out of pure, like, we've got this property, we want to get it. But like, could they get nobody who cared enough to actually invest time into making sure that they were going to make something that was good? Does Sony just not have access to that kind of creative talent? Like, what's going on here? I don't know. It's more entertaining than Morbius. There are a lot of moments where you're going to look at it and you're going to laugh at how stupid it is. And you didn't really get that in Morbius. You were just kind of bored. No, that's not true. There was one moment in Morbius, and it's when Matt Smith is doing the have sex dance. But that's it. There's a lot more funny things like that in this film. Anyway, Should you see it? No. Will you see it? Maybe. If you do see it, wait for streaming. Don't give it money. Don't encourage Sony anymore. If Sony wants to make good Spider-Man movies, they should make good Spider-Man movies, and we shouldn't reward them for making just any kind of content flop. Hey, thanks for watching. Your view means a lot. Don't forget to toss me a like and subscribe and ring the bell. And drop a comment below telling me what you thought of the video. I stream Mondays and Fridays at 5 p.m. Pacific and Sundays at 2, so catch me live and join in on the convo. You can find all my socials in the description below, and thank you to all my patrons with a very special shout out to my Whaled Shark tier patron Ryan D and my Anemone friend tier patron Piftle Cakes. Your support means the world. Catch you next time.